Real Chat episode 59, Evil Dead 2.
4 years ago, in this quiet forest, in this cozy cabin, something happened. Something so frightening. Something so deadly. Something so evil. We prayed it would never happen again. Now, from the creator of Evil Dead comes Evil Dead 2. Dead 2, Dead by Dawn.
The comedy horror of the Decayed. Everybody, welcome to episode 59 of Real Chat, a podcast that promises week in, week out, the real world as we know it. Sam Raimi is a director who may not win points for finesse, but he works his magic in a manic, breathless style that is perfectly suited for the black comedy of the Evil Dead franchise. And that devil may care, throw caution to the wind spirit is exactly what has made the original Evil Dead trilogy such a cult sensation. 1987's Evil Dead 2 is an extremely gruesome affair, but it's also laugh-out-loud hilarious a lot of the time, with Bruce Campbell's intentionally wide-eyed, crazed, cartoonish performance making the most of Raimi's reinvention of the Evil Dead premise. The best thing about Evil Dead 2 is that it knows exactly what it wants to be. This isn't an exercise in gratuitous gore. Well, it isn't just an exercise in gratuitous gore. It's a film which takes a whole series of horror film cliches and then bends them to Raimi and co-writer Scott Spiegel's brilliantly funny revisionism. My name is Adam Stolfo, and I'm joined here by Real Chat's own fake shemp, Mr. Brose Avard. How you doing, Brose?
The danger with me being a shemp is that I'm somewhat differently shaped to most actors, so it might be a bit obvious if all of a sudden there's a fat, bald shemp standing in for you, for example, Adam. Although I did once play the double for Mikey Robbins in a TV commercial.
Is that right?
And I'm quite proud to say they did have to pad me up a little bit because I wasn't quite fat enough. So that was
fantastic, mate.
That was a nice compliment.
There's a claim to fame right there.
There you go. That was my back when it was supposed to be Mikey Robbins' back.
Indeed. And joined here as well by the returning Mr. Matthew O'Neill. We haven't seen him much this year so far, Bros.
That is true, but what better occasion to draw him out of hiding than Evil Dead 2?
Joining us for a second helping of Evil Dead love, Matt. How's it going?
Yeah, I think the last film I was on was Evil Dead.
Oh, it could be.
Was that long ago?
So
a while ago.
Yeah.
It was a while ago.
It's almost been as long as the gap between the sequels, I think. But no, it's good. It's good to see you all.
You too, Matt. And joining us, our special guest today as well, Mr. Jason Lei Howden.
Hey.
Jason, how's it going?
Good, great. Thank you so much for having me.
No worries at all, mate.
So,
welcome to Real Chat.
You're the first person we've had on the show who's directed a feature film and the first New Zealander we've had on the show too. So,
there
excellent.
you go.
both ways. A couple of records.
Very special guest.
Very
Bros.
special.
Very special.
And
Now,
another red beard to add to the table, which
Yes.
you can't say no to a red beard, I say.
now, just quickly, Jason Lei Howden has worked in the film industry for over 6 years, working as a visual effects artist on the likes of Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance, The Avengers, Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, The Great Gatsby, The Wolverine, and all 3 Hobbit films.
Oh, yeah. Got to do the trifecta of the Hobbit films. Yeah, I'm proud to say my first feature film VFX credit was Ghost Rider 2.
Nice.
Which is still one of the most fun films I've worked on.
Oh, yes.
Amazing.
Was that shot in Melbourne?
I'm not sure if it was shot in Melbourne, but yeah, we did the VFX here at Allura, so...
But of course, Jason, 2015 saw the release of your first feature film, Deathgasm. Gotta love that name. Now, Jason wrote and directed this comedy horror opus, which sees a couple of outcast high schoolers who love their heavy metal unwittingly summoning an ancient entity known as the Blind One, who sets about wreaking havoc in their suburban town. The wonderfully gory and hilarious feature has screened at festivals all over the world, including the US, Canada, Germany, Belgium, France, and Spain. And how's this, Brose? Holds a fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes of 88%.
Wow,
That is
that's
better
fresh.
than most of the films that we look at here on
Take
Real
that,
Chat.
Batman vs Superman.
This is awesome as well, Jason. The film was released on home media here in Australia in November last year, but German fans were not only treated to a 3D release, but a 3-disc collector's edition.
Wow.
What's going on
Gotta
there?
Pick up that
I
German copy.
still haven't seen that. Apparently, they've got like a glossy booklet and
Did you do a
and all this
commentary
stuff.
for that?
I did sort of a presentation interview when I was in Germany. They spent like half an hour putting makeup on me. I'm not sure if I should be insulted or not, but
Yes.
I still haven't seen it.
Wow, I want to get the collector's edition. That sounds amazing.
I bet you do, bro.
But yeah, it's strange that you say like the name is interesting because it's in America. It was in Walmart. It was renamed Heavy Metal Apocalypse.
Why does it always have to be renamed in the States?
Well,
Didn't have any Australian...
Walmart aren't stopping gasm anything. So,
No, no gasm for us.
have you seen the people that shop at Walmart? They haven't had a gasm in a long time. They could have called it Deathgasm, perhaps.
It's a better title, probably.
And it's a great film, Deathgasm. I watched it
Amazing.
in
Oh, thank
preparation
you.
for you coming. And it's always one of those things where I'm doing homework for a guest, and you just don't know how it's going. You just hope that it's at least good.
Yeah.
But it was really fun. Like,
That was all I was hoping for.
I think, and maybe it's the generation that we're from. I like a horror film that has a sense of humour to it, that has a bit of tongue in cheek. But when it's time to be gross and horrific, you actually come through with the goods. And the parallels between that film and Evil Dead 2 I thought were really quite interesting when I was watching it. So it's great. Definitely check out Deathgasm. I watched it on Google Play. So it's like $4 to watch it. Piece of piss.
Is it inspired by some of Peter Jackson's earlier work that he's
Oh,
famous
it's definitely
for?
got a...
I think a little
Bad
bit.
Taste and
Yeah.
and, what was that other one that he did?
Brain Dead,
Brain
and
Dead.
Meet the Feebles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I think so. But I mean, I think Evil Dead, especially Evil Dead 2, was probably a more direct inspiration. I think, you know, the New Zealand accent probably lent itself towards those comparisons a little bit.
Definitely.
But, I mean, we had a Bad Taste T-shirt in there, so we definitely knew what we were doing.
Little nods, nice little nods.
Yeah.
There.
Is-
Yeah, fantastic.
You could say 87 was a big year for Deathgasm, wasn't it, really? Because, I mean, you had Evil Dead 2, you had Bad Taste came out then, and The Gate as well.
Oh,
Yeah, of
nice.
course.
Yeah,
Which has
sure.
got the satanic
Fantastic.
kind of music undertones as well.
That's a good
So I'm
point.
the horror expert, Jason.
Yeah.
That's why I bring these points to the table.
That's a really good point. When was Trick or Treat? Was that...
I think that was more 85 or
Yeah, it might have been. I know it was mid to late 80s, but yeah, definitely. I mean, at that time period, obviously, it had a big inspiration for me. And
The other thing too is it's the VHS era, and we've talked about it on the show quite a bit, but I definitely went through a stage when I was 8, 9, 10, 11, 5 weeklies for $5. You'd go through
hell
the
yeah.
comedy section, you go through the horror section, you watch everything that was available. What was that one? Was it House or something that was a 2 VHS tape edition? What,
The coffin
or
one?
The Gate? Yeah.
Friday Night 2.
Friday Night
Night 2
2
had the coffin shaped, and
and it was always at the top. You could tell where the horror section was because it was.
by the time I rented it, that coffin case was looking like shit. I tell you, It
I
was so
got one of
bad.
those recently. I
Good
got one
nick?
off eBay. Yeah, it's not bad. I needed it. I in my mind, I just had to have this VHS, and the only other one on eBay at the moment is like $400. So
Wow.
yeah,
You know,
'cause
there's
it's only
a part of me
Australasian.
that wants to own it too for no reason.
Yeah, but it was only Australia and New Zealand, I think. That,
Yeah, right.
that case. So people in the States and UK
I've never seen it.
No.
Bruce, this is an episode of our Vintage Vault retrospective series, a conscious effort to tie in selected shows with something of relevance to the present. And following up on our Evil Dead episode last year as well, it makes sense to continue to look back at this popular series. In this case, its first sequel, Evil Dead 2, also known as Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn in publicity materials. And it's also the second series as well, Bros, of this very popular TV show, Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Yeah, it's been
This
picked
show
up-
has surprised me.
It's been picked up for a second season.
This is better than it should be. This show.
But
It really
Sam
is.
Raimi's involved with the series, though, isn't
Yeah,
he?
he is.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Bruce Campbell's all over it. The amazing thing about Bruce Campbell, and we'll get to it later on with the commentary as well, I mean, this guy knows Evil Dead back to front.
He does.
He is the Evil Dead kind of historian. So if his fingers on this TV series pie, it's going to be good quality.
Yeah, he's such an advocate for it.
Yeah,
though. Like he's
he's not biased in his own favour or anything. He's got quite an objective view of that universe, which I find quite interesting.
Bruce Campbell's like David Hasselhoff in the sense that, like he won't let go.
He's the
of his,
David Hasselhoff you don't want to punch in the face.
He knows why he's famous, and he's got these like shows like the Hoff with Baywatch and Knight Rider, and
Yeah.
he plays it up, and that's why he's so famous now
Yeah.
and popular now. look at Bruce Campbell in the same way. So what are some of your initial thoughts on this one, guys? Evil Dead 2. Very different tone to the first one.
Yeah. It's interesting because I haven't seen this film for a long time, and one of the things that keeps reverberating in my head is the old saying that, the first one's not as good as the second one, and the second one's just a remake. And then you watch it some years later, this is not a remake of the first film. Maybe the first 10 minutes is going over the exploits. And one of the things that I really love that I'd forgotten is the way that he melds the first film and the second film together. At the end of the first film, Ash is dead, as far as we knew. And then when he picks it up at that point and, it carries on from there, I love it. It's amazing. So this film's, it's a great film, and it's nothing like the first one. There's some elements, but tone is different. Production is a lot different. But yeah, I really enjoyed it this time, but for different reasons.
Almost a remix, isn't it? Like you said, it's very different in tone, but also the story changes. Like those first 10 minutes, it's him, instead of coming to the cabin with friends, it's him and Linda. And
yeah, they said in the commentary they had reshot with the two friends as well, but they ended up just using the couple, which is interesting. But I like that idea of it's like a reboot, but and then continuing on. And he's basically setting up for part 3, which apparently he wanted to do for part 2 anyway. But
this is also the birth of Ash as we know him.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Ash is not Ash in the first Evil Dead.
No, Bruce Campbell's more confident and he's more in control, and he's allowed to do more of what this is where Ash and Bruce Campbell become one, I think, as opposed to Bruce Campbell playing someone named Ash in the first one.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some of your initial thoughts on this one, Jason?
I mean, it's amazing. It's, I'd say, my favorite horror film, if not one of my favorite films. It changed my life. When I first saw it, I was 13. I hadn't really seen that many horror movies. I'd seen a couple. I was at boarding school, and me and some other guys, we snuck into the prefect's lounge after hours, and we chucked on this film in the prefect's lounge, and it just blew me away. It was just, and I think it opened me up to a lot of horror, but also a lot of really surreal cinema after that. Because when you actually look at it, it's not just a horror movie. There's so much else going on. The sounds and the camera angles and the editing. It really, I think it opened my mind a bit for the films of David Lynch and
What about the sense of humour that comes in this one as well? Because I definitely think that the first one's very funny.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't
in a different
when it first
way.
came out, right? Like, you talk to a lot of people that first saw it in cinemas and they were freaking out. But I think in hindsight, maybe it's... I don't think it's intended as a horror as much.
The second one?
Oh, the first one.
Oh, the first one.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's all that sort of like... I was thinking, rewatching it, like Jim Carrey. I'm not sure if he saw it or not, but there's definitely that sort of using his body and so exaggerated and
the sequence of Ash in the kitchen is Liar Liar.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
What are you doing? I'm beating the shit out of myself, whatever. Yeah. It's surprising.
And what about yourself, Matt? What are some of your thoughts on this one?
As our local horror expert,
Yeah.
O'Neill.
I know I'm on record on the Evil Dead episode 6002. Can't remember. I forget the number. Yeah,
It could be.
And as saying I enjoyed Evil Dead more, but rewatching it for the podcast, I think I kind of like this one better now.
Yeah.
Like it's just,
I'm with you too.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like we said with Evil Dead and having a filmmaker here, you might be able to back me up. I think that film still is such a huge inspiration for budding filmmakers, the first Evil Dead film. But yeah, this one's just I don't know. It's just a lot more fun.
And the pace, like from the get go, the everything just happens so fast, and it's that's what struck me rewatching it. That it's just, and then it's just beat after beat after beat, gore gag. It's crazy.
Now, Evil Dead 2 is a De Laurentiis Entertainment Group and Renaissance Pictures release, and it was distributed theatrically by Rosebud Releasing Corporation. Now, Brose. Rosebud Releasing Corporation, the supposed film production company. It was not a real institution.
No, it wasn't. There's something about Dino Laurentiis didn't have...
Well, he was forbidden to release an unrated movie through his own company. So Rosebud was created specifically for the purpose of releasing this film.
It does say in the commentary, too, that Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi are such nuts for logos for film companies and stuff that they shot that awful opening Rose logo that they used for Rosebud. Because they had a puppeteer create it and they shot it in a studio on a green screen and everything because they just loved the farce of it so much. So that was Sam Raimi's logo direction.
Absolutely. It was released in the US on the 13th of March 1987 and in Australia on the 5th of November 1987. And it was shot, studio stuff, obviously a lot of stuff in the cabin and that was shot in the De Laurentiis studios in Wilmington, North Carolina. And then the location stuff in Wadesboro, I think it's pronounced, North Carolina in the US, and Detroit, Michigan in the US, with a budget of an estimated $3.6 million. and a domestic total gross in the States of $5.9 million, which I think is pretty standard for these films, isn't it? So
Yeah. A little bit of trivia. The De Laurentiis Studios in Wilmington are actually a disused school, and they set it all up in the gymnasium of the school. And there's some great footage on the DVD behind the scenes where it's basically this great big cabin built in a gymnasium of a school. It's great.
very nice. And the director of this film, of course, carrying across from the first one, Mr. Sam Raimi. And it was the failure of Crime Wave, his 1985 film, which was the follow-up to The Evil Dead, that prompted him to return to his original franchise. Now, I don't think that Raimi misses a beat in this film. I think he wastes very little time in setting up his premise and then delivering one horrific, hilarious sequence after another. The audience may well be dead by dawn after watching this film, but only because they've been laughing so hard. I think this film is absolutely hilarious, and I think it hits all the beats perfectly, mainly because of Raimi.
Yeah, I think so. I think this is where Raimi... we've talked about the Three Stooges references that are in The Evil Dead, but I think in this film he embraced them even more and realised that there is a room for comedy in horror and still have real horror. I mean, this is something that's been debated for ages in the horror comedy genre, but we looked at American Werewolf in London, which has some truly horrific moments, but is still quite a funny film.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, I think, I don't know, I think there's a maturation of Raimi in this film, more so than in Evil Dead. Evil Dead, I think he was trying to give his voice for that film, but was also worried about it not being a traditional horror film, whereas this one he's let go and just decided Sam Raimi's sense of humour can come through just as much as his sense of the gross, and there's a really good balance. I think the increased budget also helps with this film. The effects team are a lot stronger, and the effects team that worked on this have gone on to work on some of the most amazing films in cinema history.
The K&B guys, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's actually amazing, like when you see stuff like the dummy and the chainsaw, they want to do it really seriously, but that Raimi made a decision to make it
look like a Muppet.
Make it look like a puppet. Make it look like this crazy Muppet coming at you with a chainsaw, which I never questioned. I mean, even when I first saw it when I was a kid, I thought, it doesn't look real, but it looks
and it's interesting
crazy as
because
hell.
What is real in that instance, and why not make it a bit silly? I mean, it all works. Yeah.
Jason, are you a fan of Raimi?
Oh, totally. Yeah, amazing director. I think the Evil Dead 2, the first Evil Dead, and I think Darkman, I used to watch a lot when I was a kid, and Armies of Darkness, obviously.
What about Drag Me to Hell?
I liked Drag Me to Hell. I understand it got a mixed reaction. To me, it's almost Evil Dead 4.
Yeah.
You could almost see it in the same universe.
It's Raimi going back to his roots.
And she's almost like a bit of a stand-in for Ash when you think about it. She's just getting abused the whole movie and getting that gypsy coming after her. And
so would this film be the highlight of his career for yourself?
I think so. Yeah. I think in terms of what it sort of led me to sort of choose the career and where it how many people it inspired. I mean, I think the first one is incredibly good as well. And also for the budget, and
I think the first one is a filmmaker's dream. Filmmakers
amazing.
Love The Evil Dead.
But I think I prefer the second. I mean, I saw it first, which always helps as well. Yeah,
and what do you think as well, Matt, about Raimi in this one and how he's progressed maybe from the first Evil Dead?
Yeah, I think the progression, the maturity is there clearly. I mean, there's no tree rape scene there.
Exactly.
He got rid of that. There nearly is, yeah. But I mean, it's they've definitely, obviously, as filmmakers and especially effects, they've all moved on. What was the film? Was it they done before this? It was Crime Wave, wasn't it, with the Coen brothers? Yeah, which wasn't great.
No, it didn't do well.
It wasn't horror. No, I mean it was crime comedy. It was all right, but yeah, this is a huge leap. And I guess having Laurentiis on and Stephen King as well was a big part of this, getting this film up as well. He was a big part in the popularity of the first one. He was here for this one as well. And Dino Laurentiis really handed Raimi. He really wanted him to make a film for him, but. Yeah, luckily it wasn't the piece of shit Thinner, which I don't know if anyone's seen that. But I can tell you now that's a not very good film. He's
all over the writing as well, Sam Raimi, and his writing partner Scott Spiegel, who's sort of known for a bit of a smattering of B-grade films, Brose. He's also got cameos in various films that he's written. He was in Spider-Man 2, and he also was a fake Shemp in this one as well.
Evil Dead 2. You'd be annoyed if you did a Sam Raimi film and you didn't get to fake Shemp it up somewhere, wouldn't you? That's part of
it's
the
almost
fun.
A privilege, isn't it?
Exactly. Absolutely it is.
Yeah.
And Ted Raimi takes his fake Shemping to a whole new level in this one. But
So what do you think about the script in this one, Brose?
It's an interesting script, and it's something that I didn't remember from watching it previously, and there's such a long amount of time in this film where it's just Ash on his own, and you don't really know what is going on with Ash, because he becomes possessed for a moment, and then the sun comes up, and obviously the demons leave his body because of the daylight. So you just don't know where that's going to go. You don't know if your favourite hero is then condemned to be a demon at night, or like it's a really interesting way to start this film in that you're never on solid footing. There's never a point in the first 40 minutes of this film even where you're like, you can relax and take a breath. You're like, you're so on board with Ash and you're so on board with Bruce Campbell's performance and you so want him to be the hero that he becomes that it's really unsettling, or I found it really unsettling this time, not knowing which way it was going to go. So, I mean, that opening 40 minutes or 45 minutes is just, it's intense. Like, it really blows your mind. And at the same time, he's setting up the main plot, which is the daughter of the scientist coming back and all that stuff coming through. And that all serves itself very well and gives us some other people to kill off. But it's the evolution of Ash, this film. This is where Ash becomes a solid character, and the script really serves him well.
And the cinematographer is Peter Deming. Has some of the films that he's known for. Drop Dead Fred, My Cousin Vinny, Loaded Weapon 1.
Loaded Weapon 1.
Which is, I love that movie. Lost Highway, Austin Powers 1 and 2, Scream 2, 3 and 4.
Wow.
Not Scream. Mulholland Drive, Drag Me to Hell, and Cabin in the Woods. So
what a smattering of things there.
Yeah.
That's insane. I mean, and you can kind of see some, like, Drop Dead Fred and Evil Dead have a relationship. Scream 2, 3 and 4 and Evil Dead have a relationship.
Yeah.
Austin Powers is a bit out there. And then the Lost Highway and Mulholland Drive.
I know.
What a combination of films.
Do you like the way the film looks, Jason?
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. I think it's a lot darker than I remembered, actually. Yeah, the lighting in the cabin and... Yeah, no, I think it looks amazing. I mean, it never looks totally real, but it's not meant to. It's just a sort of a surreal.
There's a great line from, I think, Sam Raimi in the commentary, or it might be Bruce Campbell, but one of them just goes, at one point he just goes, God, it's amazing how big the cabin is inside.
I thought that was great.
And I love that's part of the joke.
Yeah, when he's running from the Force, and it's going through. It's like a TARDIS, isn't it?
Exactly.
But that's a Loaded Weapon 1 joke.
I think that was actually the shot of him when they first come in on the bridge with that matte painting. That hooked me. You know, the first time I watched it, I'm like, right, I'm watching something different here. They're doing something weird.
There are some beautiful matte paintings in this film.
Yeah.
Sensational. Now, we've spoken about him a little bit, but the man himself, Mr. Bruce Campbell, plays Ash J. Williams, a common guy who travels to the cabin in the woods to spend the weekend with his girlfriend Linda. That's essentially all we need, really, isn't it?
All you need to know, yeah. I mean,
resetting
born. What we already knew from Evil Dead, it's only him and Linda this time. But,
yes.
So it's kind of erasing that film to a degree.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I've got no more to say about Ash. I mean, this character just comes alive, and by the time this film finishes, you're really ready for Army of Darkness. You're just ready for a film where Ash gets to be this slightly cowardly but yet still very strong hero.
One thing I never got, they've got the amulet, right? The quote unquote, the pendant.
Yeah.
And which comes back later when he's possessed from Linda's pendant that he gave her, the little mirror thing.
Yeah, the little
it's like a
glass.
The magnifying glass. I never understood that when they first hug at the start. She's like, oh.
That doesn't make any sense.
Did it catch on her chest
jabbed
or
into
something?
her somehow?
I don't understand because it's not sharp at all.
But it was a lovely gratuitous shot of boobs.
Yeah.
And you can't say no to that in 80s
trope,
cinema.
Bruce.
It is an 80s trope.
I heard Rob Tappert made her a T-shirt 3 times too small to get that effect. So.
Matt, did Bruce Campbell make you a massive Evil Dead fan?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's that laughter scene.
Yeah,
Watching it this time, which really pulled me in. Like I hadn't forgotten it, but it just kind of it just really took you out of the horror element, I guess, and just realised how funny a film it was and how great a comedy actor Campbell is. It's a very funny scene.
But he's completely different from the first one. It's like there's so much confidence there now. And it was how many years? 6 years later?
It is also interesting because on Evil Dead, Bruce Campbell did everything. Like, he acted in it, but any other job that was going, he did. Anything else that needed to be done, if it wasn't his scene, he was doing it. Whereas now, I guess at this point, Bruce Campbell's an actor. He's got a few credits up his sleeve. He's being brought back as the star of this film, and Sam Raimi's reinvented his character as the star of the series. So it's nice to see that confidence on screen as well. And I mean, who knows? After this film, he could have gone into a solo comedy film career and nailed it. Like, he's preceding Jim Carrey's first film by 4 years, I think, at this stage. And could easily have nailed some of those types of performances. So
instead, he kept going for the serious maniac cop and some.
I love a good
quote unquote
cop
serious
reference.
But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's interesting.
From someone we know very well to someone we don't know at all. Sarah Berry plays Ananobi. Now, she only appeared in this and Chud 2, Bud the Chud from 1989, Brose. This is all that she's known for.
Bud the Chud.
I know.
I want to see that film now.
It's a shame. She's really good, right? She's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in a role like this, I think she's, perfectly cast. So she sort of plays Professor Nobi's daughter who travels to the cabin looking forward to share her discoveries of the Book of the Dead with her father. And then when the evil spirits unleash against them, she realizes the truth and finds out her only way to survive is to help Ash defeat the spirits.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think she does a good job. And she has a lot of acting to do in this film as opposed to everybody else that's kind of reacting to a lot of stuff. But she has some solid acting moments.
She's got a very iconic smile when she tricks, is it Jake, the redneck?
Into carrying
sure,
all the
I'll take
luggage.
your bags.
That's a great moment.
Dan Hicks plays Jake, a white trash guy who freaks out before the evil spirits. When things turn bad, he thinks they have to escape before they all get killed.
Yeah, I know.
So,
it's a great little character to have in there, and he just plays it over the top, and he's kind of creepy but kind of funny at the same time. And I believe he's about 20 years older than his girlfriend in this film. I'm not sure. I found that a bit weird this time.
He looks it too.
Baba Joe.
I think that's normal in them parts.
Oh, it's normal in them parts. It's like, I'd like to introduce my boyfriend and father, and it's the same person standing there. Is that always that?
But unlike Sarah Berry, he's clocked up like 31 acting credits.
Wow.
Including Spider-Man 2, Darkman, and Oz the Great and Powerful. So what's the link there?
Sam Raimi.
What's the link?
What was he in Oz?
Bruce Campbell?
Oz the Great and Powerful. I don't remember him at all.
I haven't seen the film. I haven't seen the movie.
I think he's something like bystander number 3.
Yeah.
Who's he in Spider-Man
CG
2?
thing number.
Yeah. Was that sorry?
Who's he in Spider-Man 2?
He played train passenger in Spider-Man 2.
Oh, I remember now. Yeah.
And he played Emerald City Citizen in Oz the Great and Powerful.
Nice.
He's working his way up.
Oh, he's doing well. Actually, I think he's working his way down.
I wonder if he's in the new Ben-Hur.
But no, he's got some great moments in this film, though, Dan Hicks.
He does. He really owns it, which is great.
From Dan Hicks, we move on to Cassie Wesley, who plays Baba Joe.
Baba Joe.
Jake's foul-mouthed, self-centered girlfriend. She tries to escape the cabin only to be killed by the woods themselves in a very similar fashion to how Cheryl was raped in the first film, but like we said, a lot more less gratuitous.
Well, it's interesting because we discussed it in Evil Dead that that tree rape scene that everybody cringes at now was kind of a product of the energy on set at the time. That it was written to be one particular thing, and then young men on set just getting more and more creative and disgusting made it into something else. So it was never written as a tree rape scene, and that's kind of what it became. So this, I guess, is more like what Sam Raimi intended the first time, and it's much more horrific, I think. I mean, the tree rape scene I still don't like, but this sequence is really
you
good.
made that very clear on that episode.
Yeah.
She's kind of bifurcated, doesn't it? It drags her by the legs.
And then it inserts herself into her face.
And you just see that POV going towards the stump, and that's it.
Yeah, it's a slightly Ghostbusters moment there when Dana Barrett gets taken into the kitchen kind of thing. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so how do you think that Cassie Wesley does? She should have went on to a successful TV soap acting career. She appeared in Guiding Light, One Life to Life, and now Days of Our Lives.
Wow,
apparently.
she's just one soap to another for her.
Yeah, look, she's... I suppose she's all right.
She's fine. I mean, she's fine. There are scenes that she's in where it looks like she's still looking off camera after someone said action before she starts speaking. But I guess it's first or second role for her. She does a good job. She's serviceable.
And good old Sam's brother Ted plays the possessed Henrietta.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Annie's possessed mother who uses her memories to lure her in order to kill her and everybody else, but is killed when Ash stabs her through the chest with his chainsaw.
Oh, good
which
work,
is
Ash.
fantastic. But 83 acting credits for Mr. Ted Raimi.
I know, he's doing all right, isn't
I
he?
think he's on the new Ash vs. the Evil Dead as well.
Oh, I'm
He's,
sure
on
he
the
is.
second
He features in that?
season, yeah.
Yes, I'm not surprised about that. He was in like Xena and Sequest DSV.
Yeah.
But he's had some substantial roles in those shows too. Yeah.
Well, that's Rod Tappert, isn't it? The producer of Evil Dead as well. So he's casting his buddy.
Possessed Henrietta is one of my favourite things about this film.
Oh,
Like,
it's such
it
a
is
disgusting looking
disgusting,
character.
but like it's so
in my fruit salad.
it's so great though. Like like the way she just hangs around down there. Only pops up when required, and then just makes a fantastic appearance in the last act of the film. It's
that great kind of elongated neck, snake neck kind of bit at the end. It's kind of a Tim Burton kind of feel to it. Or, it's just so horrific, but also just the imaginative. It's so imaginative as well.
Are there any members of the supporting cast, guys, that you want to bring up? Maybe any of the fake Shemps or
The other one I wanted to mention just quickly, Denise Bixler, who reprises Linda for this film, has played Linda in Ash vs. the Evil Dead as well. So she's popped up again.
Oh, really?
30 years later.
Actually, that's awesome.
Just in a one-off episode. So that's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. But Linda's played by a different actress in every film as well, isn't she?
Yeah, exactly.
I love Linda. One of my favorite scenes is the ballerina scene.
Oh,
I know it's a stop motion, but it's still the character.
It's so good.
Well, they filmed that sequence live action and then had the animator animate from live action.
Right,
It's really cool. Yeah,
right. Oh, it's amazing, and it's it always gets me that part where she just kind of like leaps through there, like
it disappears
and then comes back up.
It's great. It is, I'd forgotten about how
very
much
crazy
stop motion there is in this film, and
You
stop
get it from
motion
the start, don't you?
Yeah, it's right from the start. And
Yeah.
It's great. Like Raimi's having a field day with it. It's great.
Speaking of Raimi as well, he's got a nice cameo at the very end of this film as well. He's the first medieval knight to raise his sword and give his speech before hailing to Ash.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd like the way they work that in there.
It's really nice.
really good, really nice. Do you guys have, there's so many great scenes in this film. Do you have a favourite?
Jason just touched on one there with the ballerina sequence.
scene.
I've mentioned the dance, but when he gets his chainsaw as well, I think that's,
that's fantastic.
It's
It's a nice little montage where he's putting it together and slides it onto his hand.
It's iconic. Sorry.
It's an iconic
Jesus,
sequence.
how can I forget?
We love the word iconic around here, Matt. What are you doing?
I always love the scene where he goes to the mirror and he's like, right, it's fine, and then he just jumps out and just grabs himself. It's like, you just killed your girlfriend.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Does that sound fine? And then there's talking about the editing. There's that great shot where he's strangling him. And then we cut to the shot and we pull out and he's strangling himself in the chair. And it's just...
Yeah, that's a really smooth move. That's really nice.
So good.
I mean, for me, the kitchen sequence we touched on as well, where he's beating himself up because his hand's possessed and all that stuff. That flip that he does where he grabs the back of his head and flips it, which Bruce Campbell did himself. He did his own stunt for that.
Wow.
They talk in the commentary about how they hired a stuntman for Bruce Campbell who did 2 of the stunts and Bruce did all of the rest on his own. But yeah, that flip he actually does himself, and it's just a great little piece of cinema. Even when it's sped up and looking a bit cartoony, it's still a great little piece.
Yeah, I have to say the same scene as well, Brose, but the whole thing with the possessed hand, the whole build up to that, and then the whole who's laughing now,
which again shows you the confidence Bruce Campbell has as an actor at this point. He just nails all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So this is a point I wanted to touch on here, guys. This film doesn't pick up from where the first Evil Dead left off. It instead reinvents some of the same characters from the first film, notably Campbell's daffy hero Ash and girlfriend Linda, and plops them back in the same basic plot setup as the first film in a kind of horror comedy Groundhog Day scenario. Once again, Ash visits an isolated cabin in the woods, turns on a tape recorder that has a professor spouting verbiage from the Necronomicon, and the next thing you know, all hell has broken loose, quite literally. So what are some of your thoughts on the opening few minutes of this film and its decision to recap the first film?
I don't know. I know Brose touched on it, that originally the sequel was going to be Army of Darkness. And I guess as a younger guy watching this film, I always found it kind of confusing. Like it always in a way kind of shitted me. But as I've got older, I kind of dig. I mean, we're doing it all the time now, aren't we? I mean, we just had the Amazing Spider-Man come out, a few, or all the Batman reboots. Like rebooting a film now, I guess it's awkward that it's not by the same director, but in this case, it is.
So do you think the rebooting premise now, people are just so used to it now that we're just more accepting of it than we were back then?
Exactly. Yeah, but I think with this one, I guess they were just trying to wedge that whole Army of Darkness world in a little bit more because. The rules they're all kind of bent in this film compared to the first one. It feels like almost feels like it's another dimension and the same things going on, and they've almost built it like that, especially with the time travel and stuff like that at the end. But look, like I said, I've grown to love this film just as a result of this podcast. So
fantastic!
I'm with it now.
The story is the reason they redid the start of the film was they couldn't get the rights to reuse the footage from the first film. So they had a choice then of whether they recreate it shot for shot and then just show it again, or whether they did something a little bit different. And according to the commentary, someone in the commentary does mention that they thought they'd shot the sequence with the 4 friends rather than just 2 friends. But that's the main reason they redid it all, was because they just couldn't get their hands on. I think New Line Cinema had the first film.
They couldn't get the rights to it.
And so they couldn't use that original footage. So, it's the same kind of thing where it's limitation is what creates great art.
But it's just, and just the whole pace and everything, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the idea they couldn't get that, if they'd got that footage, then the whole film might have been different. The pace of the rest of the film might have matched the first one, the tone might have matched, because in editing, that's where those decisions can be made. So if you're using that first 10 minutes as a starting point, then that's where the film may have ended up. So it's worked in their favour, I think, that they couldn't get that footage, and they've created a new world for us.
So the unofficial start of this film is when Ash sort of gets propelled through the air by the Deadite force, like, and
lands in the puddle.
For people who want to sort of combine them together, that's sort of where it starts. But although an amusing note here in the DVD commentary, Bruce Campbell jokes, if any of you are wondering if Ash would be stupid enough to go back to the cabin, he is. So I mean, like, it's really well done, and I think that Matt's point as well about that we're more accepting of this now and we go along with it, but I think I was confused by it back in the day.
Yeah, it was like not a sticking point completely, and I guess also for a lot of people, especially in the UK, because Evil Dead was unavailable for a long time, Evil Dead 2 didn't have the same restrictions and fitted in nicely with Army of Darkness. So for a lot of people, it was like their first taste of Evil Dead was Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness.
It's interesting because there isn't a clean break between Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness either, though, because at the end of Evil Dead 2, he's the hero already. He shoots that flying thing, and then we go to Army of Darkness and he's a slave. And I remember watching it going, but wait, no, he's the hero. They're worshipping him.
Oh, but you wonder why, because they already had that Army of Darkness in mind, and it was so close to each other, why they didn't think to tie the two together. But it kind of adds to it. It adds to that whole, it's just different dimensions.
Yeah.
Same thing happening for different people, and
sure.
I'm happy to just go along with it.
Totally. Oh, yeah.
And I guess 1 and 2 aren't that smooth, and 2 and 3 aren't that smooth. So I guess it's part of the.
They're just so much fun, though.
Yeah.
TV series.
Yeah, exactly.
The awesome one-liners in this film, guys.
Groovy. That's right. Who's laughing now?
Work shed.
Give me back my hand. Give me back my hand.
Hey, I'll swallow your soul. I'll swallow your soul. I'll swallow your soul.
Swallow this.
One's in my fridge cellar.
Then let's head on down to that cellar and carve ourselves a witch. I love that line.
I always have
awesome.
Dead by Dawn. Dead by Dawn.
It's so quotable.
Yeah, when I was a teenager, I was really into this metal band called Decayed, and they've got a song called Dead by Dawn, which is pretty much the plot of Evil Dead 2. And that's the chorus, like, Dead by Dawn, Dead by Dawn. So
I think I've heard that.
Yeah, it was always... It's great.
Did you guys notice the glove belonging to Nightmare on Elm Street's Freddy Krueger character in this film?
Yeah.
It's a nice little touch, isn't
It's
it?
nice, yeah,
Yeah.
it's good. We've referenced
kept
that
it going.
before. Did we reference that before? There's a bit of back and forth in the Wes Craven episode.
And Evil Dead, yeah.
That Wes Craven then answered back with a chainsaw. Does he have a chainsaw in a sequence in the background? And they kind of went back and forth.
It's nice.
Yeah, it's good.
For those of you who don't know, it can be seen hanging above the door of the tool shed when Ash carves his girlfriend's head with a chainsaw, and when he's looking for the pages in the later cellar scenes as well. So it's a nice little touch.
It's cool.
Guys, what's with the grinning skull with eyes on the poster of this film? This doesn't...
Yeah, we referenced this in the Evil Dead episode, the idea that the poster has nothing to do with the film in
Nothing
any
at
way,
all.
shape or form.
Was that is this Australian and New Zealand, or was it international? That
It's
poster?
international, that
right?
poster.
Yeah. I think it was a De Laurentiis thing, wasn't it? Didn't they already have something planned, and I think they just ended up using
the
that.
artwork.
Yeah, but it's great. I love it.
It's iconic, but it's got nothing to do with the film at all.
I mean, I think if they re-released it and had that artwork, and there was something else, I'd probably hate it. But because I associate it with Evil Dead 2,
and you do. You associate that face. I remember there were billboards and the VHS covers, and
It sort of gives a summary that the movie's a horror film, but it's sort of going to involve death and the undead, but it's also going to be humorous. It's like, that's sort of what it says.
It's so bizarre.
I mean, the first
It's an
Evil
interesting
Dead
choice.
film, the poster for that, there's no woman coming out of the ground.
No.
No, that's true.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it happens.
It's interesting, yeah. A little bit of trivia here from Evil Dead 2. So apparently this is Bruce Campbell's favourite film of the trilogy.
that's
I guess you can
interesting.
sort of see why to an extent.
He gets a lot of high notes in this performance-wise, yeah.
Sam Raimi credits Stephen King for making the sequel as well as the popularity of the original possible. Raimi couldn't acquire enough money to fund the film, so Stephen King made a few calls, since he was a huge fan of the original, of course, and convinced producer Dino De Laurentiis over dinner, who was producing King's Maximum Overdrive at the time, to have his production company DEG, or De Laurentiis Entertainment Group, finance Evil Dead 2.
Any bit of trivia that mentions Maximum Overdrive, soundtrack by AC/DC, is great,
yeah.
featuring the voice of Lisa Simpson.
Oh, is that Yardley Smith?
Yardley Smith shows up
nice.
in
That's
there.
right.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
a great film.
Yeah, it's so good.
Sam Raimi's original idea for the sequel was to toss the character of Ash through a time portal to the Middle Ages. This ultimately became the plot for Army of Darkness, the third Evil Dead film, as Matt mentioned before. Yeah. Ash's chainsaw appears to switch hands in one scene. Did you notice this, Brose?
Really?
This is because Sam Raimi decided Ash should walk the opposite way across the room in that scene, so he flipped the negative.
He flipped the negative.
Yeah.
That old trick.
Classic.
Yeah. The smoke that comes from the chainsaw is actually tobacco smoke. Sam Raimi rigged tubing to the back of the chainsaw, hid off camera, and blew cigarette smoke through the tube to create the effect.
Oh, I love it. I love it. There's so many of those effects in this film where, the eye flying across the room, you can see the rod holding it up. And
the wire, yeah.
Yeah, the wire. There's shots where the camera, at the start of the film, when the camera's going through the cabin, you can see the roof of the gymnasium through the open roof of the cabin.
Yeah.
I love all that stuff in this film. You can see the making of it on screen, which doesn't hurt it at all.
There's so much going on. You never really... Your
don't pay
eyes are
attention.
always busy.
And it gives you something to look at second, third, fourth times you watch it, too.
And the continuity's all over the place. I mean, right at the start of the film, the force comes through all the doors, smashes every door in the house.
And then the door's fine.
Then they're fine, But then,
No, the sun came up and the doors were fixed.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
I always attribute it to, what is happening in the real world and what's happening in Ash's head. It's,
nice.
It's kind of my interpretation.
It's interesting you actually see what the force is in this film.
the rotten apple head.
Yeah.
I love it so much. I saw in Ash vs. the Evil Dead that's they show what the force is as well, and it's a bunch of CG shit.
Not the same.
Not the same. Yeah, it's a bunch of CG smoke, and I don't know if we should touch on that, but I was personally disappointed by the TV series. I had some great moments, especially the first episode, which was directed by Raimi. It was very in tune with Evil Dead 2.
That sort of went off the rails a little bit.
For me, I'm not sure what you guys thought. Have you seen this?
I haven't seen it yet.
I've seen half of it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Wow. That kind of maybe
probably the good half. The producers insisted upon giving different colours of blood to avoid an X rating. This proved futile as the MPAA gave the film an X anyway, and after cuts they received a more desirable R rating.
Yeah, I saw the uncut version for the first time recently, and you actually see Ed's, Ed Demon, the boyfriend of Nobi.
Yeah, which is probably the greatest makeup in this whole film. The makeup for Ed is incredible.
He gets his head cut off, sliced in half, and then part of the head is on the ground, kind of writhing around.
And there's footage of that.
Yeah.
Because they talk about it in the commentary, and
it's very bad footage. It's all grainy and...
in the commentary, they refer to that there's VHS footage on set, and that... At the time the commentary was recorded, they believed that was the only surviving footage of that effect.
It might have been that I've seen, but it was
cool.
incredible. Yeah, I've never seen it from that angle, and you can see that it's actually the actor's head underneath the floorboards. But
I love it.
Mr. Ted Raimi, who played the zombified Henrietta, wore a heavy, full-body latex suit with eye lenses and fake teeth. The only body part of Ted's the audience can see is his tongue when his mouth is open. The location of Wadesboro, North Carolina was going through a heat wave at the time, and a combination of this and the cumbersome suit meant Ted Raimi would quickly become overheated and profusely sweat in the suit. Litres of sweat would be drained out of the suit into styrofoam cups at the end of the shoot every day. And in the climax of the film, the sweat can be seen pouring out of Henrietta's ear when she's flying through the air attacking Annie.
That's got to be disgusting. I mean, come on.
There's a rumour that the effects team somehow used the collected sweat in a horrendous prank on Ted on his last day in the suits.
That's gross.
That is revolting.
They say in the commentary that he must have lost like 10 or 20 pounds from the start to the end of the film.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah.
So salty.
And they're also using a different type of latex. Whatever they use now for that kind of suit hadn't been invented yet. So it was a particular type of latex that was quite particularly hot as well.
But it's still quite... My wife does works in effects. She was on set for The Hobbit, and there were people fainting in the orc suits.
Wow.
From just being in the suits all day, like extras just actually fainting and having to be...
Because they had the full appliances on.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it.
Yeah.
No thanks.
Now, like the first Evil Dead, Brose, Evil Dead 2 has seen numerous video, DVD, and Blu-ray releases throughout the years. There are so many releases in countries around the world that it would actually take forever, Brose, for us to list them all here. So we here at Real Chat have decided to just feature the important major releases only.
Let's go it. Important releases.
And there's still a list. So Anchor Bay's limited edition tin was the first one of note. Quite a decent special edition for the time. You've got that one?
I've got that one.
Yep. But then there was Anchor Bay's The Book of the Dead 2 limited edition. Right? Now, I've got this one.
That's the Necronomicon version.
Right, which is just like the one from the first one, but they redesigned it, right?
Yep.
They put a sound chip into the DVD case, so if you poke the Book of the Dead in the eye, it screams at you.
That's
So good.
awesome.
And here's the book itself. Of course, when you press the eye, get the little sound effect.
It's amazing. But that DVD was a staple at the time as well. Then in 2007, there was the very first Blu-ray. Apparently a good transfer, but not much better than DVD, apparently. It was supposedly the same master that appeared on the Book of the Dead standard definition DVD release from several years before it. And there are several shots that look overly soft, much so that you sort of think it was actually Sam Raimi's intent. But the Blu-ray version did appear to be somewhat brighter than the DVD, and colours seemed a little bit more vibrant. And then there was the second Blu-ray, which is Lionsgate's 25th anniversary edition.
Which one have you got? Have you got the...
I've got the
Book of the
actual
Dead.
the set, which actually puts all four movies
right, okay.
together.
Oh, that looks incredible.
You got to get that.
Yeah. Is that $200 or
surprised you don't have
something?
it.
No,
it's only about $80.
I'm a filmmaker. I'm very poor.
It's about $80.
I picked up whatever the local Blu-ray is to watch because I've got the American release of the DVD, which I can't watch anymore on my setup. So I picked up the Blu-ray, and the Blu-ray looks fine, but it's one of those films where it doesn't need to look any better than it did on VHS, really. Like, that's what it was made for, and it's dirty, it's grimy, it's ugly, there's scratches, it's fine. It's a cheap film, it's made cheaply, and if it was too glossy and too clean, you'd kind of get put off, I think.
I rewatched it for this podcast on VHS, and I can confirm that Brose is 100% correct. So there you go.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Is that the first time there's been research done with VHS
It
for
might
Real
be.
Chat?
It might be the first VHS.
Oh, no, I've watched a few.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
You should mention it more often.
I will. Yep, I'll do that next time.
Brose, the audio commentary with writer-director Sam Raimi, actor Bruce Campbell, co-writer Scott Spiegel, and special effects makeup artist Greg Nicotero from Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Yes. What's this commentary like?
It's a good commentary. The problem I've got now is that because I've done a lot of reading before today and I've looked up a lot of trivia and bits and pieces, a lot of the stuff that you find online is what's in these commentaries, and it's the same. So if you've not looked into the trivia, and I guess now that you've listened to this episode, it's a moot point, but if your first kind of entree into behind the scenes of Evil Dead is listening to the commentary, it's a great commentary. It's a lot of fun. The special effects guy, what was his name again?
Greg Nicotero.
So Greg Nicotero is great because he had his camcorder on set, filmed a lot of material behind the scenes, and so he obviously had watched that before he did the commentary, so he's referencing a lot of stuff from tape, so he's quite current with a lot of it, and he's aware of what had happened. Bruce Campbell, I said when we were off air before, Bruce Campbell is like he's the historian for Ash Campbell.
Ash Williams.
Who's Ash Campbell?
Might as well be Ash Campbell. It's just a combination of Bruce Campbell and Ash.
Ash Campbell's a real person. Bruce Campbell, who is like the historian for Ash, and in a very objective way, which I find very interesting, is very good at remembering little bits and pieces. He's mentioned them in his book before as well, so he's got a lot of anecdotes to talk. Sam Raimi is just hilarious because he just wants to shit stir everybody that's on the commentary.
He's so funny.
He's hilarious, yeah. And he doesn't really want to tell people how he made the film. He just wants to make jokes all the way through. It's just a really nice energy, and it's fun to listen to. The other thing worth mentioning on at least the DVD version that I've got is a very rare feature these days. It's a behind-the-scenes kind of featurette. It goes for a while, 20 or 30 minutes, but it's just behind-the-scenes footage. There's no commentary, there's no interviews, there's nothing linking it together.
Is that called a fly on the wall?
Yeah, the fly on the wall.
Yeah.
And it's nice. I mean, for me, and I assume, Jason, you'd be the same, I like watching people in the moment doing their craft without any Hollywood bullshit around it. So it's nice watching the effects guys on set just trying to get an effect to work and it looking silly on VHS compared to how much better it looks once it's edited and sound effects that are added and stuff. So it's weird to watch because there's nothing going on, but it's great to watch because you're seeing what's
Good
actually
stuff.
happening to make the film.
Yeah, but they've got some great stuff on the recently released Blu-rays. Like there's a whole hour-and-a-half documentary in HD, Swallowed Souls, The Making of Evil Dead 2.
My version doesn't have that.
Yeah, these are some of the stuff added to the Blu-ray. Yeah, and there's featurettes, 20 minutes long. Yeah, it's if you're a fan of Evil Dead, track down that Evil Dead anthology box set.
Yeah.
You know, even if you don't like the remake because, you know, it's been thrown in there, but everything else that you get is a must-have, definitely.
Yeah, I might have to
Can I
upgrade
say
my DVDs.
the VHS came with trailers.
Nice. What trailers do you remember?
Perfect with John Travolta
Nice.
and Jamie Lee. No, I didn't. I can't remember what the trailers were, but it did have trailers, fact.
Nice.
Was the sequel to Chud one of them? Or?
That's a great film.
Now, Brose, the soundtrack and the score to this film is the returning Joseph LaDuca from he did the first one, of course.
Yeah, he did. And
It's very kooky, isn't it?
We didn't
It's
give him
very-
a great rap for the first one, did we? From memory?
No, but you know, it was in line with the rest of the production. Really.
But he's stepped up his game this time. Didn't
Oh,
he?
yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
They mentioned on the commentary that he approached it a bit like Carl Stalling would approach a Looney Tunes cartoon. And he's definitely got those moments, I think, where he kind of emphasises action with some very over-the-top orchestration. So, yeah, what do you think?
Oh, look, I'm just disappointed that, we've got some news about an upcoming release, Brose, but I'm just disappointed that we don't get much of it on the soundtrack, that's all, because it's a great score. It's really coming of age. Following on his work from The Evil Dead, LaDuca went on to score Sam's next picture as well, Crime Wave, as well as Josh Becker's Thou Shalt Not Kill, except the same year. This made Joe an obvious choice for Sam when a composer for Evil Dead 2 was required, and he was signed up quite early in the process. But in the end, he only had around 3.5 weeks to actually produce it, so... Yeah.
Not uncommon in film to have a short amount of time to produce a score, because the edit can take so long to be locked off. But
yep. Did you like the score in this one, Jason?
I think it's great. I mean, there's the iconic piano piece.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what struck me the last time, because it's a film I watch almost every year, but the last time I watched it last night, it came across very kooky in some moments, very camp, which is great. It's there was another score. I can't remember the film recently. It's interesting when you rewatch films and you rewatch stuff like Terminator. It's so synthy and
which just got re-released.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of synth in this, wasn't there? There was something.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
keyboards.
The score's great, and the sound effects, the sound design is just incredible.
So LaDuca had to tread a fine line to achieve just the right tone, balancing between the movie's two extremes of humour and horror while covering full range in between. Ash's piano piece, for instance, he said that he intended to sort of go operatic with it, he explained. It didn't have to be what it was, that Ash all of a sudden is a brilliant classical pianist, but in some ways it was, once again, that combination of opera, horror, and the Three Stooges. I've often felt, this is LaDuca speaking here, I've often felt that with a lot of the work I've done for Sam and Rob, there's no such thing as going over the top. The idea that the emotions are so grand that they verge on opera, that's the point of view the music is taking, and everybody seems happy with it. And also there's that interesting sequence, with the destroyed bridge at the start of the film as well. Like, that has a really, dramatic tone to it in this one.
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah.
But like I just said before as well, Brose, the soundtrack release, just 9 tracks, right? Fans will already know about this one, not including all the music from the film. But that's not the exciting news I was hinting before.
What's the exciting news with the release of this
2016, Waxworks Records, who I actually didn't know of until I researched this as well.
They're good. Yeah.
They're good?
Yeah, very good.
Something to do with a lot of horror?
Oh, they do a lot of great re-releases. I think I just saw, I was in LA a month or two ago, and the record store there was packed full of Waxworks, and there's Mondo Death Waltz, who are doing the Deathgasm soundtrack. They do some great stuff.
Nice.
I get them mixed up, the releases, but I think they had Night of the Demons Waxwork doing as well.
But good old Waxwork Records is releasing this year a deluxe edition of the score to The Evil Dead, which makes me think that it's expanded, Brose, which you think it would be.
Yeah, you'd hope so.
Wouldn't just be the same 9 tracks.
That's great.
But here's the great news. They're letting the fans design the LP release with this whole vinyl, revival at the moment. So they've worked closely with illustrator Justin Erickson of Phantom City Creative to illustrate various artistic concepts for the Evil Dead 2 soundtrack release, and fans will get to vote on their favourite design.
I've seen those, the black and white ones at least.
How good are they?
They look great.
Yeah,
and I love the way that they're letting the fans vote. It's fantastic.
Especially for a film like this that fans love so much. It's such a cult classic, to get them to decide.
Well, the fans made this film.
Absolutely.
So it's giving something back. It's fantastic.
It's really cool.
Did you see the artwork for the, sorry, this is an aside, the Waxworks release of Friday the 13th Part 3?
No.
It's 3D vinyl. Oh,
3D.
Man. I need that.
Was that Gary? That wasn't Gary Pullen, was it?
I'm not sure. I just I've only seen people on my Facebook feed bragging about it, but I haven't seen it in real life. I need to get this.
I think the Evil Dead vinyl release would look fantastic next to that Back to the Future vinyl release we talked about a little while ago, Adam.
And just to put next to the Terminator one as well.
Is that on vinyl as well?
There it is.
There we go.
Yes. So yeah, guys, if you're a fan of the Evil Dead 2 music, track down this new release this year.
Looks fantastic.
We don't have any more information on it yet, but as soon as we do, we might mention it, Brose.
Let you know.
Yeah. Now, in regards to alternate versions and deleted scenes of Evil Dead 2, many scenes were deleted from the movie, and according to official reports, all of them lost. Apparently,
I saw some recently where the head, Linda's head comes on his lap and starts talking to him. There's one where the tongue comes out, and
yes,
have you guys seen that one?
I think
I haven't seen it, but I've heard it referenced.
Yeah,
Linda's severed head puts its long snake-like tongue into Ash's mouth when he's sitting in the rocking chair.
Yeah. The footage I've seen is very, very weird. Like, you could see why they left it out.
Yeah.
But maybe there were different angles.
They talk about on the commentary how Sam Raimi's attitude with those effects is, let's just shoot it, and then when we're editing, see if it works or not. And if it doesn't work, you just cut it out. Which is why he has so many of those amazing moments, and then he's cut half as many again out. So
another one is Henrietta is in her rocking chair while the professor reads the incantations when she rocks into the light, revealing her demonic eyes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Linda's head throws up black bile on Ash when it's trapped in the vice, which is why black slime suddenly appears around her mouth in the final scene.
Oh, there you go.
I love it when the deleted scene explains a little bit more about
what's going on.
A scene that's in there. Yeah. Alternate longer take of the blood flood with both green and yellow blood as well as red. That's out of the trapdoor, isn't it?
No, this is when it's coming through the walls.
When he shoots the walls.
Oh, the walls.
I think I've seen that footage too, and it's very weird again. But
it's a weird idea you'd go for different coloured blood to try and avoid a certain rating when, I don't know, it's kind of bizarre.
And a couple more. Possessed Ash eating a squirrel as he runs after Annie as well. I don't know exactly what that would add, but and Ash's demonic face morphing into normal after he takes his dead girlfriend's necklace.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Now, Brose, collectibles from Evil Dead 2. What have you got for us?
I was a little bit surprised that there were more than I thought there would be, but a lot of them are only from the last few years. So, as I mentioned in Evil Dead doesn't really have much at all. Army of Darkness has a lot. Most of the collectibles focus on Army of Darkness, and we'll definitely get to those when we look at Army of Darkness. There's a couple of nice ones. Sideshow are releasing a 1/6 scale Ash at the end of the year, October-December release, and it's been at all the toy shows and toy fairs in the meantime. We've talked about Hot Toys a lot on here. Hot Toys are definitely the number one when it comes to 1/6 scale toys. Sideshow aren't anywhere near as good, and Sideshow distribute Hot Toys in most of the English-speaking world, so I guess they don't have to... I don't know why they don't just put a little more effort in. This is a $240 US action figure, and it doesn't look great. It looks good, but it doesn't look great, so hopefully Hot Toys get a chance at that at some point as well. NECA have done the 6-inch figures, and the NECA toys are really cool. They didn't get the license till 2012, so that's how recent these figures are coming out.
They've got the cloth ones as well, don't they?
Yeah, yep. So they've got in the Mezco. Evil Dead, the Mego style.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So there's the Evil Dead Series 1 and 2, which are just the hard plastic toys. There's the Farewell to Arms Ash, which is kind of cool because it comes with different limbs and you can take it off and then put chainsaw on where his hand is. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, and it comes with a shotgun and stuff like that. So that's really cool. And then different versions of his hand, including, I think, a possessed hand. And the likeness is sensational. There's a Deadite Ash, so when he's in a fully possessed form, which comes with a tape recorder, the Book of the Dead, and Linda's severed head, which is a very bizarre looking accessory. Series 2 of the Evil Dead toys has another Ash figure of him just kind of look more in the hero pose, and then Henrietta, the possessed Henrietta that we love so much, which is one of the most disgusting looking action figures I've ever seen, and it is fantastic. It comes with an alternate version of her head with the snake kind of neck, so it's the snake version of the head, which looks incredible. And it comes with a stand so that you can sit her up like she's levitating above everybody as well. It's an amazing figure. There was also a limited edition collectible version of Ash in that series, just in more of a grayscale.
Oh, is that the Comic-Con one?
Yeah, the Comic-Con exclusive. It was released for San Diego Comic-Con last year. NECA also released 2 Mego-style figures. So Mego were the figures of the 60s and 70s. They're very cheap, not very accurate-looking, weird-scaled kind of toys that are very popular at the moment in the current licenses being produced in that old style. They did Ash and they did Deadite Ash. I don't like these figures. I don't see a need for them to be made. But
I like them. I don't know. There's something about them. I got Snake Plissken, and I think I've got Deadite Ash as well. And a couple of
I think
others.
they're one of those things that if you like that style or you want to relive that style, you're going to love them.
Yeah.
Whereas I love action figures that are more and more representative of what the actual actor or character is, rather than trying to be some interpretation. But if you love them, you'll love them. NECA also released they've released a Cult Classics, which is their kind of standard horror series. They've released Ash vs. the Evil Dead, just worth mentioning quickly. And Trick or Treat Studios, who do mainly Halloween costumes and things, have released the Necronomicon Book of the Dead replica. They've done a replica of the Kardarian dagger. And also some really nice looking masks of both Henrietta and Evil Ash, for you to wear next Halloween, and the detail on them and the quality is just fantastic. Like the rubber
That's
mask,
awesome.
full head covering. So if you want to go as Evil Ash next Halloween this October, then grab one of those.
We'll have to go as Evil Ash next time, bro. So I've already dressed up
You've
as
already
normal
done Ash once.
I've done Ash once, normal
That's right.
Ash, so I'll have to
did
do
you,
that.
did you wear a wig for Ash, or was that before?
No, I had more hair back
more hair
then.
back
That's
then.
right, yeah. So.
I want to see a rotten Applehead, the Indian. I want to see why isn't that an action figure? Come on.
Thanks a lot for that, Brose. In regards to the awards for Evil Dead 2, no Academy Awards or nominations, no Golden Globe Awards or nominations, unfortunately. But the ones that matter here, Jason,
There's only
the
one
Saturns,
award that matters.
Right, yeah.
which Real Chat glorify every week. Nominated. No wins, unfortunately.
No.
Nominated Best Horror Film, Best Makeup to Mark Shostrom, and Best Special Effects to Vern Hyde, Doug Beswick, and Tom Sullivan. Now, the Rotten Tomatoes website certifies Evil Dead 2 fresh with a score of 98%.
Wow.
Yeah,
Hell
can you
yeah.
believe it?
That's got to be one of the highest we've had.
Yep, 51 positive and 1 negative.
One negative.
So
Who is
what
this
the hell
bozo?
is Pat
Arsehole.
Graham from
Not
Chicago Reader
Stuart
going on
again.
about?
Jesus.
So, I mean, essentially, he just sort of said that the pop-up humour and smirkiness suggest Raimi's aspiring to the fashionable company of the brothers Coen, though on the basis of this strained effort, I'd say he's overshot the mark.
It's so bizarre.
I don't know.
Wow.
He says a few more things. We're not going to get into it here because we're not going to do it justice.
No, but we do have a short list of people that review films that obviously have no idea that we'll be visiting on our next tour of the States and just sharing a piece of our mind with them.
You're noting that down, right, Brose? Yeah, thank you very much. IMDb as well, 7.8 out of 10, which is to be expected.
That's very good.
And like the original, Evil Dead 2 has accumulated a cult following, and the film was obviously followed by the third installment, Army of Darkness, which we'll look at here on Real Chat very, very shortly. So let's just wrap this up with our traditional 5-star review system per guest.
It'd be remiss for us not to.
And so who are we starting with in Andrew's absence?
Me.
Good old Mr. Brose Avard. Brose, Evil Dead 2, final thoughts.
I'm going to give this 4 out of 5, which I think is what I gave Evil
The first one? Yep.
Dead. Yep. Solid 4 out of 5. It's a little bit different. Evil Dead is a great film to inspire you to make films. Evil Dead 2 is great because you can see a filmmaker becoming a great filmmaker, and it's really a lot of fun to watch Sam Raimi just playing around and having a great time, having a maturity about his directing, seeing Bruce Campbell have a maturity about his acting. It's a more mature film all round, Evil Dead 2. You need to get over the start of this film. A lot of people have issues with this film because of the way it retells the first film or whatever else is going on there. Just forget that. It's just helping refresh your memory slightly in 10 minutes. This film was made before everyone had a VHS player in their house, before DVD and Blu-ray. People may not have seen Evil Dead before they watched this for 2 years. So just get over it and just move on. This is a good film, and that 10 minutes at the start isn't working against this film at all. Definitely check it out. I mean, this is a great film. It's a lot of fun. It's got some laughs, but it's got some really great horror moments as well. It's a celebration kind of the history of horror films as well, with the stop-motion stuff, which this is towards the end of stop-motion, I guess, used in cinema. But Sam Raimi has a lot of fun with it. The special effects just looks like the special effects team have had a ball. So, yeah, I love this film. Check it out.
Good stuff. Thanks, Brose. Mr. Matt O'Neill.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still confused as to whether you call it a sequel or a prequel or
Reboot?
or just a reboot. I think we'll go with reboot because it's never going to beat Karate Kid 2 as the greatest sequel of all time. Although I'm sure Deathgasm 2 will come close, Jason. I have no doubt. But look, I'm going to give it 4.5. And I can't remember what I give Evil Dead. I've got a feeling it was 5, or maybe it was 4.5 or 4, but whatever, 4.5.
It was 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. Well, 4.5. And I did say I liked it better than Evil Dead this time. So, it's not. I'm not bullshitting anyone. I'm not pulling the wool over anyone's eyes. I really had fun watching this one again. I just thought it was just so hilarious and bloody and gory, and I think as I get older I'm a lot more forgiving of things like the start of this film, whereas in the past I would have been kind of a bit disgruntled by it, but I just loved it. So 4.5. Thank you.
Stuff. Thanks a lot, Matt. Jason.
5 out of 5 for me.
You'd hope so. You call it your favourite film.
I mean, I love it, and it. It inspired so much of what we did with Deathgasm. Obviously, I've always owned up to that about the shots we rubbed off. But the thing I love
is Evil Dead 2 a big part of why you're a filmmaker today?
Totally. I mean, it's I can't I think the first thing I did after we watched it was I started trying to make my first film when I was 13. About a escaped lunatic running wild at a boys' school with a pair of scissors.
Nice.
Started doing makeup tests and everything, but I mean, it's one of those films, like, especially when you're that age, you just run out and you're like, I want to make films because this is so awesome. And I think there's probably quite a few people in that boat. But yeah, I mean, just the whole film in itself is almost just a film school in a box, really. Like, there's so many different techniques, so many different special effects. Like, there's it's not like, shots, set up, 3-shot, 2-shot. It's just all over the place. And I love the editing, the camera work. Yeah.
We haven't even mentioned his use of reverse film either, which is all over this film.
Oh, yeah,
they
yeah,
shoot
yeah.
everything backwards.
And the editor, Bob Mowowski, is I think he's the editor in this one, which is the guy Raimi uses for everything.
Yeah.
There's a real cool story behind that guy, but probably for another time. Maybe Army of Darkness.
We'll leave it for Army of Darkness,
them.
Matt. Good idea.
Yeah, fantastic film.
So 5 stars. There you go, Brose. Evil Dead 2.
It deserves it. No question about that. And now it's time for the final word with Adam Stolfo.
Thank you, Brose. I'm getting more and more keen on that intro as we go
I know.
along.
You've asked me to come to your workplace and just say it as you walk around. And now it's time for Adam Stolfo to use the bathroom. Demeaning, but it pays well.
Now, this is groovy. The difference between The Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 reminds me of the difference between a fistful of dollars and for a few dollars more. The initial film is a rough cut, a prototype, hampered by its budget and a director searching to find his style. The follow-up is a fully realised, supremely confident and trimmed of all fat. So much so that it's hard to believe both films were either set or directed by the same person. Evil Dead 2 is all the best parts of The Evil Dead, and it borrows liberally and literally from the first. Its retakes on some of the so-so or hokey parts from the first become infinitely better and more cohesive. A large part of why Evil Dead 2 works, for me at least, is that it's so over the top, so extreme that it is no longer a horror movie. Sure, it throws in plenty of gore and a few jump scares, but it does so with such an obvious wink that I can't see it as anything other than satire. It pokes fun at everything from the horror genre to the decadence of 80s cinema, even to itself in The Evil Dead. It's making fun of all those things by pointing out the ridiculousness of it all. It's a parody and subversion of hedonism as a virtue. Yet, even as it makes you laugh at how silly those concepts are on a fundamental level, it does so with obvious love and admiration. Satire cannot exist without the ideas it leaks to lampoon. Raimi's love of B-movie tropes like the chiseled, infallible leads and earnestly cheesy effects are what allow Ash and his very bad night to feel so good. I believe Raimi truly loves those otherwise subpar aspects, or else Evil Dead 2 would come off as a mean-spirited and derivative. At its core, Evil Dead 2 is both Raimi's interpretation of the appeal of bad movies and his celebration of them. And finally, Bruce Campbell here is just the man. Groovy in every sense of the word, bro. So, yeah, definite 4 stars for Evil Dead 2 and highly recommended from me.
This is a consistently high-rated film, but it's great. It's a great film. It's worth checking out. I think that box set you keep talking about is the way to go.
Have you got it yet?
No, I just picked up the Blu-ray of Part 2 for this, but I should have picked up the box set.
I got it after we last spoke about it.
Oh,
so
yes.
I listened to you.
Yes.
And it's
thoughts?
fantastic.
I listened to him, but
cool.
didn't learn a lesson.
No, you didn't.
Pay more attention.
But now maybe you'll listen to me.
Should I get that box set, Matt?
You should get that box
Yeah,
set.
well, that's some good advice. Yeah, I might do that. Yeah.
But, yeah, so we've got a little bit more Evil Dead to go, Brose, but this is definitely a fun series to do on Real Chat, that's for sure.
And it's a great... And if you've not ever heard of Evil Dead or any of the films, then go and check them out. It's especially if you're not a horror fan, these are really fun ways to get into the horror genre. Really well executed, really tight scripts. Yeah, they're worth having a look at.
And can I say, please go and check out Deathgasm as well.
Oh,
I mean, I'm
yes,
sure we're going to
absolutely.
finich up on that anyway,
Yes.
but just as a horror fan here, I got to see it at Monster Fest last year, and yeah, such an exciting a new talent. And I'm not just saying that because you're sat here with your hand on my lap.
It's going further.
It really is. Yeah.
Sorry, Jason, that's a button fly, mate. That's why you're having trouble.
It really was fantastic.
That's not my hand.
I know, Bruce messaged me during the week just saying, have you seen Deathgasm? Wow. And He said it was shit after.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, what the fuck?
no, he didn't. No, but it's it really was fantastic. It's quite exciting.
One of the reasons I messaged Matt was because I'm watching it and I'm thinking Matt would love this film. This is such a Matt film. Like I enjoyed it a hell of a lot, but I enjoyed it more knowing Matt was loving it. But yeah, it's again similar reasons for Evil Dead. The sense of humor in Deathgasm is fantastic. The effects are great. I mean, you obviously had a ball creating those effects.
Yeah, well, as related to Evil Dead, we actually ended up stealing a lot of props and appliance makeup from Evil Dead the remake, which shot in Auckland.
Oh, nice.
So, do you guys remember there's that thing she cuts it in half at the end of the movie when it's all raining blood?
Yeah.
That thing is the same thing that Medina, the female lead, she cuts that head in half. That's the same
appliance.
Awesome. Yeah,
That's
so
nice.
we basically, they had a skip full of old body parts and they let us raid them.
Now, there's not a DVD release. Is there a DVD release locally?
Yeah, there's a DVD. Madman. It's at JB Hi-Fi.
Is there like an hour-long edit of Medina standing on top of that hill with the axe? Is there a long version? Because
that was the best day. That was the last day of the shoot.
Is she working a lot? Can I just pay her to come around to my place, wear that outfit, and stand on top?
Yeah, I might still have the outfit.
Nice, that'd be good.
And what's next for you as well, Jason?
I just completed an action comedy script called Guns Akimbo. So at the moment, that's with my agents, and we're doing some cool stuff with that. And I just completed the Deathgasm 2 script, which Thursday I'm talking to the New Zealand Film Commission, so maybe we can go with that. Or
best of luck with that.
Yeah, there's a lot of different projects in the pipeline. It's just which one happens first, or otherwise you'll see me at McDonald's.
Have you thought of sending it all to Stephen King? Because he seems to be able just to get stuff going.
He's the man for DVD quotes.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
But thank you, Jason, for coming on Real Chat.
Thank you, thanks so much. It's a lot of fun, and it's honestly, it's I love talking about it. I probably could have talked about it for another hour, but it's such a great film.
Awesome. Thank you again, Jason, and thanks a lot, Brose.
No worries, thanks,
Matt.
guys.
And next up, we'll be looking at Scream, Brose.
Wow.
I thought it was a scary movie.
You can keep in touch with us here at Real Chat by visiting realchat.com.au. Check us out on Twitter at Real Chat Podcast, Instagram, real_chat_podcast, and we're on YouTube, Real Chat Podcast, surprise, surprise, and track us down on Facebook. You can hit iTunes for new episodes and check out some of our old episodes. Thanks for listening.